Okay, I've gotten a surprising number of messages and questions about some of my various mods, and it's that time of year when people have new RVs and are wondering what changes they can make. So I thought I'd go over some of mine. We'll start indoors and we'll go outside if this video doesn't get stupid long. I started pretty much with electrical and structural mods, so it's all more utilitarian, and I really haven't gotten to decorating. I've gotten my 2025 Rpod 171 just a couple months ago, so I haven't had it very long. I've only taken it out a few times. So starting in the door, we added a broom and dustpan and fire flag and first aid kit, and the first thing I had was my seat completely collapsed, and I am not a heavy person. So we added some supports to on the corners and some brackets there, and another cross section over here and also over here, so it supported better. That is my second 280 amp hour lithium battery. We'll get into that later. Starting in the back, I have a ham radio, and in the corner back there, kind of a not a great location, I have a USB port. We did take off this entire front panel, and you can see there's a handle there so I can lift it up, and that allowed me to put USB connectors in. And we added some mood lighting. Well, I had access to 12 volts. There we go, little mood lighting in there. And moving along, there we go. Moving along, this is the monstrosity. We have a 280 amp hour lithium battery there and a second one there. I know this is not an ideal placement, but it does work and it current shares. I don't want to get deep into this, but what we have is that is a second charge controller for an outside panel. And then we have a 3000 watt inverter. I have two switches, one for the main battery, one for the inverter. This over here is a shunt to do current monitoring. I have a couple of barrier strips, what are they called? Bus bars, thank you. And also have some extra wiring. You'll notice it's a little messy. I'm not a big fan of bus bars because they do, it's potential for voltage drop and problems. Moving over to the water, I did retune my pump for lower pressure, and I added a accumulator tank, which means the pump cycles a little bit less and saves your pump. Moving along here, I added a USB connector, and I took off the standoff that had a little thing that made the outlet stick out more. I didn't really see a purpose for that. Moving over to here, I haven't replaced the solar controller that came with it with the maximum power point. This gives you about 30% more power. And so that was a mod to use the existing panels for about 30% more power. I haven't put new panels up yet. This is the controller for the inverter, and this is my battery monitor. It tells me where my battery is, what my voltage is. This is the Junctec brand, Juncek. It's my favorite low-powered shunt. I don't know that I would use this particular model again. This one is the internet-enabled one, and the one that's not internet-enabled has a few more features. But it's a nice basic shunt, costs about 60 bucks. Let's see now. One of the issues is that the lights were really harsh. I was going to change the lights to a better color temperature light, but then what I did is I added this dimmer switch to the lights. And this really was enough change, and it gets kind of orangey as it gets low that I didn't bother. Oh yes, I have an outdoor, well I guess that's outdoor, but I did add a outdoor thermostat into here. And let's see here. Speakers. If you have, Forest River has not been good about wiring these upright, so you might want to check that positive is to positive, negative is to negative, and the phase is right. But even after I fixed that problem, they weren't great. So this is Focal speakers. I've upgraded the speakers, and this is an aftermarket Amazon grill. And there's only about 1.75 inches, so you have to find some narrow speakers. That's why I went with Focal. It's a nicer brand, and I trusted that their narrow speakers were good. I've made an entire video. Let's see if I can't zoom out a little bit more. I've made an entire video about what I've done here, but essentially there were no drawers in here. And so I took out these knockouts and I made a fold out here for the sink. And then these became drawers and another drawer down here. There was an outlet and a USB connector there. I figured I added the USB over here and there was an outlet, so I didn't need that. For the sink, I drilled and added a soap dispenser. And I probably will put a filter there, but I have not. Inside, I took out the back supports and cleaned up the wires so I could get all the way back, which you were not able to before. I did have to add another support to here because with the back removed, it wasn't strong enough, so I added a piece of wood under there. Unfortunately, the second time out, my glass shattered, so I have no glass on the stove. Inside here, whoops, things are falling. Inside, I added a couple of shelves in here so that I could utilize this space a little bit better. And moving right along, I did one thing that's very different for those installing an inverter is I used a manual transfer switch. So I have shore power off, an inverter, and I wired it before the 30 amp outlet. So my inverter powers everything, including the microwave. I did put a cheapy shunt here, and this only monitors what's happening at the power distribution. Didn't do much mods to the power distribution, but I did add all my accessories off a new outlet. I added a switch to turn off the refrigerator and a switch to turn off an accessory leg that draws a little bit too much power. I should mention behind here is the surge suppressor, and the monitor for that I ran over to here. So that's my monitor. And while I'm in here, I added a switch over here, and that turns off that annoying motion light outside. And I did that to all the motion lights. So on the floor over here, this annoying motion light that people talk about, I added a switch here to disable. These are just cheapy little 50-cent Amazon switches. Underneath here, I probably not enough light, but this corner piece here that took up a lot of space, I added right angle connectors to the outdoor shower, so I had more space under there. The bedroom also got some treatments. I got the mood lighting. I gotta get better holding the phone right. I had the mood lighting I added. I added a USB outlet and some little lamps in here and over here for reading lamps. And that's really about it for the bedroom mods at this point. So still working on a lot of things. And since this video is not too long, I guess paper towel dispenser I also added. And just FYI, people want to know how I got the wires back to here. I actually ran the wires under here, up the side of the refrigerator, and then the back of the cabinet, and that's how I got wires over to here. I think that is all the indoor mods, pretty much. Let me think. I guess that's all the ones I can think of. So we'll walk outside. Outside, I added what I call the Geek port, and this is a port with a USB connector and a, whoops, wrong port. This is a USB connector here. And an Anderson power pole. This is good for technically 45 amps, but I wouldn't pull more than 30. And that's how I adapt to any outdoor accessories. I added levelers, or the level thing. I have not changed the outdoor speakers yet. That's on the list to do. Haven't found a good speaker yet. On the front, I got a very large trailer box, and this is kind of a work in progress. So this is a 48-inch box, and don't put anything heavy in here if you put one of these in. This is just tarps and cloth tables and light, bulky stuff that I wanted to get out of my storage compartment. I did have to extensively modify the tank. I had to cut off the supports and turn it 90 degrees. I don't know if you can see that in here or not. I will eventually move the thermostat, or the regulator down below, but I haven't gotten that far. And then for electrical, I added a new switch to the right. For the new battery, the old one, I made a Anderson 50 amp pigtail, and that comes into here. I can add accessory batteries and whatnot. Moving around, I have another port with 40 amps external, and this is the external for a suitcase solar panel that goes to that second charge controller. Moving up on the roof, I have not redone the solar panels yet, but I did disconnect the solar, and I added an extra adapter to this, and that way if I have an 18-volt panel, I can suitcase that on. So older suitcase panels tend to be 18-20 volts, and they'll work good with this 200-watt panel. That is because it's curling up, and I've got it glued down right now. But anyway, my newer panel goes into the side. It's a 45-volt panel, so it can't really work well with this. And that way I can use up what I have. Not a lot else to show you. I did, for the camera, this is something people talk about. I got a cheap outdoor wireless camera, and I had a piece of steel welded on to mount it. What I did find after I did this is that the maker of this camera has a plate that I could have used VHB tape and screws and put it on here and not needed to pay a welder for that, but I did. And I'm a ham radio operator, so this is my radio setup. I use that, what we call crossband repeater. So often where I'm at down hiking, I can't get good radio access, so I can talk to the RV, and then that will talk to a future or an external communication system. On the side, these tubes are hollow, so I added a stop in here so I could put more mass and other things in there. And that's really about it for outside mods. So that's my mods. I'll probably make some longer videos about the solar and whatnot at some point. Thank you.